So while all of us have been glued to the ChatGPT saga, it turns out Google's been playing a completely different game, a much quieter, much more strategic one. And honestly, they've been making moves that are completely redrawing the map of the AI race, and almost nobody's noticed.
And look, this isn't just hype. One of Google's recent moves was so big, so significant, that it apparently forced Sam Altman to send out an internal memo calling for an urgent code red at OpenAI. I mean, think about that, a full-on crisis meeting at the company we all thought was untouchable.
So what on earth did Google do? What was this move that was so powerful it sent actual shockwaves through its biggest rival? Well, that's what we're going to break down. Let's dig into the strategy that put OpenAI on red alert.
Okay, so let's start right there with that code red, because this is the moment the entire game shifted. It stopped being this public spectacle about who has the coolest chatbot and turned into a behind-the-scenes war over something way, way bigger.
Here's the key thing you gotta understand. The public story has been all about, ooh, which chatbot is smarter. But the real story, the one that actually matters, is about who's building the infrastructure to win the long game. And folks, that is exactly where Google has been quietly placing all its bets.
So the question is, how'd they pull it off? Well, it all starts with this huge technical breakthrough. Google decided to attack the single biggest problem holding back all of AI, and that problem is memory.
You know, for years, pretty much every AI model on the planet has smashed right into the same wall. It's called the context limit. It's like if you give a model too much information to think about at once, it just starts forgetting important stuff. Or the cost to keep it running just goes through the roof. It's been this massive barrier preventing AI from really scaling up. And this is how Google cracked the code. So on the left, you've got the old way of doing things. These models, they're basically frozen in time after they're trained. Their memory is static. But Google's new model, which we're hearing is called Titans, is totally different. It learns all the time as you use it. It decides what to remember based on what's new or surprising, and it strategically forgets stuff it thinks isn't important, kind of like how our own brains work. And the result of this new approach? A context window of over 2 million tokens. Let me be super clear here. This doesn't just beat the old record. It absolutely obliterates it. A model with this kind of memory, it can read an entire book, analyze a massive software project, or watch hours of video, all in one shot. It's a total game changer. But hold on, the model itself is only part of the story. The really big deal is what it's built on. It's a new framework from Google called Mirrors. You can think of it like a new master blueprint for building all these giant AI models. It's the secret sauce that lets them handle these incredibly long tasks. And some experts are saying this is a huge step toward building something much closer to AGI.
Okay, so this memory breakthrough is massive. But Google isn't just a one-trick pony here. Their strategy is way broader. They've launched this systematic, multi-front attack on the entire AI landscape, hitting several key weak spots all at the same time.
It's basically a three-pronged attack. First, make AI that can actually do stuff on a computer, not just talk. Second, slash the cost of running everything. And third, get control over the flow of information. So that first prong is all about action. There's a new model called Lux, and it's a beast. It doesn't just chat about doing things, it actually does them. On a test with over 300 real-world tasks on the web, it scored an 83.6%, just crushing everyone else. And here's the kicker. It's reportedly 10 times cheaper to run than OpenAI's version. This is a huge piece of the puzzle for Google. All right, now let's get to a more controversial part of this strategy. Google started messing around with its Discover feed. So what you're seeing here is the original headline from PC Gamer. It's just a straightforward, factual report about a glitch in a video game.
And this is what Google's AI turned it into. Talk about a completely different meaning, right? Super inflammatory. This little experiment where they just changed headlines without asking anyone obviously created a ton of friction with news publishers and was a real flex of Google's muscle over how we see information. And then there's the final piece, the cost attack. And this is classic Google. It's right out of their playbook. They release a super efficient flash version of their top model. It performs nearly just as well, but it costs a tiny fraction to run. And what does that do? It lets them dominate in situations where you need massive scale, making their stuff the go-to default choice for tons of users and developers.
So you put all this together, what's the actual impact in the real world? Let's look at the numbers, because these are the numbers that allegedly sent OpenAI into that code red panic.
First up, downloads. Just look at this.
Year over year, downloads for Google's Gemini app shot up 190%. Meanwhile, ChatGPT, sure, it's still growing, but at less than half that speed. The momentum is undeniable.
But downloads are one thing. What's even more important is that people are actually using Gemini way more. Daily engagement since March is up a whopping 120%. In that exact same time frame, ChatGPT's engagement? Basically flat, a tiny 6% bump. The difference is just staggering.
And here's where the rubber meets the road. All that growth in downloads and engagement, it's directly stealing market share. Between May and November, Gemini grabbed a 3% slice of monthly active users, and that 3% came directly from ChatGPT. It's a zero-sum game right now, and Google is clearly the one taking ground.
So when you step back and look at all the pieces, the insane memory breakthrough, that multi-front attack, and the hard data from the market, Google's grand strategy snaps into focus. They were never just trying to win the chatbot popularity contest. They're playing a much bigger game. They're winning the infrastructure race.
And this is a fundamental shift in how we need to think about AI. The old moat, the thing that protects your business, it's no longer just about having the smartest model.
The new moat is all about distribution, cost, and infrastructure. Those are the new rules of the game. And that's a game that Google is perfectly, almost unfairly built to win.
I mean, just think about it for a second. Google's got the cheapest way to run AI with models like Nano Banana. They've got the biggest distribution network on the planet thanks to Android. Their models literally get smarter every single time someone uses them. They're pulling ahead with agents that can do real-world stuff, and they're using things like image generation to get people coming back every single day. Each one of these advantages just feeds into the next.
So that leaves us with one last, kind of unsettling question. With Google leveraging these massive, almost insurmountable advantages in cost, data, and distribution, could it be that the race for AI dominance is already over, and we didn't even realize the starting gun had gone off?